but misses the boat. Comes at... Oh, wow. That Goliath got popped. But now Fantasy pushing in pretty hardcore into the 3 o'clock position where Flash has control of there. He's got those wraiths to protect against anything coming in. That was pretty sweet, though. The SCV running up in amongst those tanks while they were sieging up. He had to unsiege them immediately, pop the SCV, and siege up again. But anyways, unfortunately for Fantasy, the boogeyman snatched the boob. Sorry, that's a random... Most of you are probably going, what? It's from a story I heard on the radio the other day. They're talking about how there's like a phrase in... I forgot the language. That means like what's his name? The Iranian... I think it was the Iranian guy. I'm just making a fool of myself now. I'm not even going to talk about it. But basically it was a phrase that was in the news last week. And Fantasy moving in here with some SCVs to try and take hits, trying to push in on this 3 o'clock position. Tanks in position. Some of his tanks a little bit out of position, but Flash only has a few tanks there. He's destroying SCVs at the battle and somehow manages to save all of his tanks just by sheer SCV suicide. Wow, but not for long. The SCVs die, and the tanks die as well, and he lost a ton of SCVs. He would have been a lot better off just running those SCVs out. But Flash going in for a drop of his own in the bottom left corner at the same time. He's got to get those raids out of there, get the dropships out of there. Finally, he sieges up. He's going to be able to take that out. Actually, Fantasy moving in with some Goliaths of his own to try and retake this position, but they're all going right through some tank fire on the edge. Nicely done, beautifully placed tanks on the edge by Flash. Tries to go in and snipe those Goliaths with some cloaked raids, but the Goliaths are all on top of it. Oh no, he's fighting the Goliaths with the raids. Picks off one, but he's going to have to run away there. And Fantasy, again, really playing solidly here. He's taking out the 3 o'clock position. He may defend this bottom left corner. If he does, he's going to be in a huge lead. Well, maybe not huge, but he's going to be in a lead. Flash has a bunch of forces kind of in the middle of the map, but he doesn't really have control of some key positions. He really needed to kind of keep that right side base, that 3 o'clock base. He only had like 4 or 5 tanks there. So Fantasy doing exactly what you need to do in a TVT in that kind of a situation is attack with large amounts of your forces where the enemy is small. And that's exactly what he did. He attacked with a huge force against Flash's relatively undefended base on the side, so obliterated a ton of SCVs, took very minimal losses himself because of the sheer amount of tanks down there. If there had been less tanks, he still would have won the battle, but the SCVs would have been in closer and would have made the attacks splash each other, so he took out most of the SCVs before they got in close. Anyway, and Flash is really good at doing this as well, setting up tanks in random spots just for fun. Just because they're going to be keyed later. So just like these 3 tanks up here, really good spot, 4 tanks apparently, taking positions that are going to be crucial later on. Is going to again though lose that spot, and Fantasy doing an excellent job here. Look at this Flash. I can't believe he didn't realize his command center was flying through that turret, or didn't do anything about it rather. Maybe he's planning on flying past it and landing it, but that is going to go down. Oh, the command center dies. Flash had a couple dropships headed that way with troops in it. I don't know exactly what happened to that, but he may have realized that he has lost that position and decided to forfeit it. Flash is in trouble now. Flash is in trouble. I mean, again, in TVT, often you can kind of tell who's winning by looking at the minimap. And look at that minimap. Mostly yellow. Probably 3/4 yellow. And only the top right corner is brown. So Flash is in big trouble. And also, if you count the bases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases for Fantasy, with the options to take more. Flash is at 3 bases with nowhere that he can take an extra base right now. And he's actually in danger of losing the 12 o'clock base. That's pretty vulnerable as well. I don't know, he's got a lot of stuff in between there actually. But yeah, Fantasy now mining a lot with all of his bases. Look at that. Tons of SCVs, good saturation. Pumping tanks out, pumping units out of 7 factories, I think, 7 factories. Flash is planning on taking another base. He's got that CC building. He's probably going to try and take the top left base back, is what I'm expecting here, because he's building that command center over there. It is going to be tough for him to do that, though, because Fantasy is really setting up defenses there. He's got turrets building. He's got more turrets building. He's got Goliaths. He's got tanks. And here comes that big drop trying to take control of this base again. If he can push down and take control of that ramp, he will be able to secure this location. But Fantasy's pushing up the ramp before he has an opportunity to do it. He needs to be careful not to just run his troops in piecemeal, though. He kind of is taking lots of hits, but he may have just way too many troops for Flash to deal with. His Flash's troops are spread out as well, so he is not able to make full use of that defensive position either. So despite the fact that Fantasy kind of came in at an angle and up a choke, and it was just not the best angle of approach, Flash's troops were not optimized either, and so he was able to, oh, now Fantasy just Flash, Fantasy just stomping on Flash here, just dropping tank bombs on top of his units there. Flash going through a gauntlet of turrets. Oh my goodness, his dropships getting pegged, some of them very low on health. They could die, but they're almost to their target. Two of them are almost dead. One of them has only a few hits left. Is he going to be able to get them down here? He is going to be able to drop the troops out at the very least. Where is he going? Drop those troops, Flash. What are you doing? Drop them out. The Goliaths are on the way to kill your dropships. You're concentrating on this other one. Finally, okay, he does get them out. He's going to get siege mode up. He's going to try and take out this position. But in the meantime, he's fighting for dear life at the 12 o'clock position. And Fantasy's dropships coming in to drop more stuff on top of Flash's troops there. And nicely done this time. That was something that Fantasy did not do well in past games. That ended up wrecking him in the first game was, you know, dropping in the wrong spot instead of right on top of the siege tanks. This time he drops on top of the siege tanks, making them very ineffective, or less effective, I guess. And oh man, there goes those dropships. At least they were able to drop those troops out beforehand, but that was a close one. And now he's going to lose all of his dropships. Oh dear. Anyway, so Fantasy doing a much better job and winning that battle and not losing control of the bottom left corner. So Flash is just really, really deeply hurting right now. Somehow Fantasy decided, for some reason Fantasy decided to evacuate the top left though, so Flash is trying to move in and take it again. Some siege battles going on in the middle here. Flash, I think, is pretty secure there for the moment. Just he's got a few less tanks, but he's got the siege position, and he doesn't need to go south right now, so he's okay. But Flash is trying to take this top left at base. Fantasy is all over it. He's sending his dropships that way. Oh! Okay, never mind. That was just one Goliath. I thought there was more Fantasy's troops there. Anyway, so Fantasy, it looks like he might be trying to let Flash not take that top left base, but Flash now dropping the bottom left, just attacking everywhere, and this is really, 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 Flash is in a really tenuous position right now, but he's doing exactly what he needs to. He needs to, if he can pull this off, it'll be absolute magic, but he's going to have a hard time of it. He's basically trying to keep attacking, despite the fact that he should be playing defensively, and here he goes dropping in again. Fantasy dropping on Flash's troops. Flash was going in to reinforce the dropships, got there a moment too late, and they're going to go down. But Flash finishing off the bottom left base at the same time. So, wow, nicely done. Nicely done indeed. He cleans up that base. He's probably going to lose those tanks, but I think it's okay at this point. Flash now with 4 dropships worth of units, just waiting, you know, hoping that they have a chance to run up and drop all over Fantasy's troops. Not too many troops there. Look at this. He's building some SCVs at that base. He's like, maybe he won't notice that I'm here. That's how Flash talks. Anyway, so yeah, Fantasy does clean up that bottom left base. Flash's forces out of there. Flash, though, cleans up the forces in the top left base. Things are starting to equalize. Flash somehow managing to be aggressive while he's in dire straits. Absolutely brilliant. It's the mark of a you know, a star player, a top level player like Flash, that he can do that he can be under so much pressure and he can still attack. Here he is targeting down one of the dropships. It gets a single tank out, I believe, but a lot of forces dropping out of all those dropships. Flash has retaken the 3 o'clock position, so he's doing okay. Let's count bases now. Actually he's managed to retake that top left, and he's building another at the natural of that top left. So Flash currently at 1, 2, 3 4 mining bases. Fantasy currently at 1, 2, 3, 4 mining bases, so they're actually about even. Flash has somehow managed to even things up. Fantasy still has a military advantage though, so Fantasy can easily take another base. He can retake bottom left, and pull ahead at the moment. But if Fantasy doesn't do that, or doesn't use his superior military to attack Flash where he's weak, then Flash is going to get that natural up at the top left pretty soon, and he's going to be ahead, and then he's going to really start pulling not just pulling back into the game, but pulling ahead, because he's almost even things up right at this point. Look at this, turrets everywhere, another base almost up. He's got a decent amount of SCVs there. Wow, so Flash has fought his way back into this game. I thought he was dead for a minute there. Remember when he had a quarter of the map, and I was thinking, man, Flash might lose this one actually, but Flash has fought his way back into this game just barely, just by a few key drops in some obscure locations. Actually, one of which didn't work, but one of which did work. And here he comes in, trying to take out this left side base with some more dropships. 5 dropships worth of units are going to drop out here, and he's got enough there to secure that position as well. If he sieges up, he needs to be careful. The SCV is attacking, but then he needs to siege up. Siege mode is on. Kills a bunch of SCVs. He's not going to be... But the rest of the SCVs going in. Fantasy going in from the bottom. He's got vision, but he's just got too few tanks at the bottom. Oh, no, the Goliaths go down. I think if Fantasy doesn't take this position, he's going to be in huge, huge trouble. Flash keeping control of that position. Fantasy trying to go for a counter drop. Flash is all over it with a couple Goliaths, but it's not enough. All of his forces are spread out, so he's going to lose the top left probably. Actually, he's loading up some dropships, but they're very, very badly damaged. This could be very, very bad for Flash. He needs to be careful of those Goliaths. Goliaths attack the non-injured ones, so the dropships do survive long enough to get those troops out. Flash is going to hold that top left position. I don't think he's taken the 9 o'clock position, though, no. Fantasy was able to take that position out, and is now trying to push up towards that natural there on the top left. It doesn't look like that's going to work either, but Flash is not going to be able to push down either, so it's kind of reaching an impasse there in this sort of mid-left area there. Flash almost taking that out. Man, if Flash had been able to hold that location, it would have been huge. Here he's going to go in for another drop, though. Several dropships. He needs to be careful and make sure one that's healthy is in front. He does. It does go in. And Fantasy actually, I think, targeted one of the... No, it targeted the front one. Never mind. Drops a bunch of units back there. He needs to kind of move over and get control of that ramp. Actually, if he just sieges up, I think he's got control of that ramp right there. And he's going to be able to shell that command center. It looks like Fantasy's trying to move in, think about moving in, and why he just flew away a dropship for no reason, I guess. Maybe just scouting to see if he had that location, since he had some extra dropships. Fantasy has some dropships in the mix. Flash still has a few Wraiths in the area, though. Where are his Goliaths? He needed a couple Goliaths over here to protect those tanks. I guess he was just hoping to kill off that command center and then leave. But those troops do go down without doing a terrible amount of damage, except delaying the mining time. But Fantasy in the meantime has taken bottom left and the bottom left natural expansion. So Fantasy is now head on bases. Flash pushing down the middle of the map. Actually not pushing down the middle, but kind of having to deploy his dropships to defend this location. And Fantasy, ouch, getting slaughtered over here.